everyone, I'm Larissa Russell of Creative You, and I'm your host of the Creative Soul Healing Podcast. Here's where we talk about the connection between creativity and healing by interviewing amazing creatives, spectacular healers, and inspiring people who have used creativity in their healing. What does it mean to be creative? What is creativity? You don't have to write a best-selling book or paint a masterpiece or even play in a rock band. Creativity is in everything that we do, in the ways we think, in the way we run a business. In our everyday lives, we are creative all the time. Let's talk about how we are creative and how creativity helps us heal mentally, physically, and emotionally, right now on the Creative Soul Healing Podcast. Hi everyone, Larissa Russell of Creative You, and welcome to the Creative Soul Healing Podcast. Today I have with me Amanda Trought. Amanda was part of our second annual Loving, Healing, Creating Summit we ran in February and shared with us having fun with creativity. You can still get access to the summit at www.creativeviewhealing.com. So Amanda is a mixed media artist who uses a variety of materials: paint, clay, fabric, stitch, bookmaking, natural and recycled fibers, creating art, telling stories, using color, texture, and layers. She explores the use of art and creativity on health and mental well-being, including its use with dementia and caring. She has spoken at various conferences and seminars on the benefits of creative activities on health in London, Barbados, and Montserrat. She curates an Arts in Health network, writes for her website and blogs, and produces weekly episodes for her podcast and art YouTube channel, sharing her tutorials, insights, interviews, and reviews. So welcome, Amanda.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
That's quite a, it just looks like so much, right? But I think we all do that. When you put it down on paper, it's like, wow, we do a lot. And so it's pretty impressive.
Right. Yeah, I think we totally underestimate, what we can get done and what we have done. And it isn't until, as you say, you write it down that you think, wow, okay, yeah. Or did I do that? Yeah. So I think it's important for us all to do that. Yeah. Celebrate ourselves.
Absolutely. We need to do more of that. We need to do more. So can you share some of your story and the path that's brought you here?
Yes. Well, I've always wanted to be an artist from I was in secondary school, but my path was not misdirected, but I came up in an era where art wasn't something that was taken seriously, and you had to get a proper job, and the proper job involved either being in an office, working as a teacher, and what was the other one, being a nurse. And it was just like, okay, so I think I went into the secretarial role, but I continued to do art, and I was, drawing, painting, and just kind of exploring all the different mediums. And I wanted to have more of an impact in my art. I mean, I wanted to obviously earn millions, have exhibitions all around the world, but I felt that there was more to it because I was getting more from it. So I felt that the viewer or whoever participated with, say, a workshop that I may have done would also receive more. And my mother became sick with dementia, basically, and she still lived with dementia, and she's 97 now. But it's been about 20 years. So from the early signs of dementia, we had to then find a daycare centre for her to be in, and I'd started a year-long course as well, which looked at how you could provide projects that impacted on the community. And my tutor at the time said to me, well, you've got to do like a series of workshops. What do you want to do? So I said, I want to do art. And I explained to her, my mum was in a daycare centre, and she said, well, you've got a captive audience. And so I went to the manager and said to her, it was like April, and I said to her, are you interested? And she said yes. But then I left it. I was just like, oh my gosh. And then I wanted to also, because I had another ulterior motive, was my mother was going to the daycare centre 3 days a week at the time, and I wanted to keep an eye on her. And then that October of the same year, the manager said to me, "Are you still interested? We're willing to pay." So then I started my journey into arts and health, and started to run art workshops for the elderly with dementia. And there was, people who had dementia, Parkinson's, speech impediments. And it was a great learning curve for me to see how much the art really impacted on their lives. And that, as I said, that then opened up the journey to, okay, what else can we do? How are carers impacted through the arts? How can I develop resources that carers can use, and also the people that they're caring for, those who are living with dementia? And then I started speaking at conferences and seminars to social workers who were, they're the first point of call when a carer contacts social services, and they're the ones that then give them access to the other services that are available. So they had to have an understanding of what the perceptions of a carer was, and what sometimes the misconceptions that they have based on what they might have read or other experiences. Because for me, as a carer, my first knowledge of social workers was that they could come in and take your kids. That was just, and it was like, I think at one point when my son was young, there was all this news about, up north somewhere where a lot of kids were taken from their parents, and there was child abuse rings. And it was just like, wow, I didn't realize they had that much power. But what if you're, aside from that, as a parent, if you're a young parent under stress or so many different things, if you reach out for support, what would that support look like coming into your home? So I talked to them about carers, and how they should maybe look at what they're carrying into the home. And it was great. And then I moved fast forward to the Caribbean, in Barbados, and I connected with the Alzheimer's Association here, and started also giving talks about creative activities that they could, that carers could use, because the support that carers have in the UK is very different to the support that carers have in Barbados. It's quite non-existent in terms of, either financial support or places that they can, that will help them as a family. And so, yeah, I've been doing a lot of talks. I did a lot of talks here in my first 3 years. And I also in the UK set up a network which is really for artists and organizations, and looking at best practice and the things that they're doing that they can share, and that people who may require their services can access. So it's been very rewarding, because I've seen firsthand at the daycare center. That was my first introduction, and it's really good to see how people can develop and grow, and use the resources in many, even in ways that it might not have been a way that I designed, but it was just like, okay, yeah, of course, you use it the way which suits you best. So it's been really great. My journey has been, I've really enjoyed the journey.
Yeah. And that sounds amazing, to be able to actually contribute to your mom's care and learn from that, and learn how to help, people in need, whether it's dementia or other ailments, right? And so I love
Yeah,
that. What a
yeah.
way to expand and grow in yourself as well as in what you do.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
then I also found that, as well as, whilst it was a quick learning curve in dementia, it's carers across the board,
Hmm.
have, needs in terms of they're on their own, or they don't have any family support, or, you know, what can they do in 5 minutes, and what can they do if they can, they're having to go to hospital appointments or, things like that. So it was,
Mm-hmm.
I learned firsthand how to deal with it, and found the arts to be the thing that really supported me, and wanted to share that with others.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
yeah,
That's wonderful.
yeah.
So then what does healing with creativity mean to you?
Well, it means that you find whatever part of the arts that will help you express what it is that you may be going through, because I think sometimes we're not able to express how we're feeling, what we're thinking, what we're going through, and the arts can do that. You can go to say, looking at the visual arts, you can go to a gallery and see, a painting on the wall and burst into tears because it touches you in some way. Or you can, bring a piece of art into your home. I've heard of people, being healed with art, with quilts, the designs on the quilt and the messages in the quilts. Or you can take part in an activity and be able to express yourself through the use of color, or the use of adding particular words, or, you know um, there's an exercise that one of the exercises that I sometimes do is, you have a page and you write all the negative things that you're feeling. You cover that up with gesso, and then you pull out some positive words which can counteract all those negative things. So art is a really powerful tool. And then when you go across the board to the arts, across the board, music, we know that music can create or invoke so many different emotions. And even when we look at dementia, there are, I mean, I use music in my creative sessions. I use music, and they were doing art as well. And we know that music can invoke memories. And there's a video that was going around on YouTube where it was a ballet dancer who danced in the Nutcracker, and they got her the music for that. And then she started, where she was non-responsive before, when she heard the music, she started moving her arms. And then they put the dance together with her, and you could see the movements that she was making was very similar to the ones that the ballet dancers were doing in the Nutcracker itself. So it's creativity for me is healing such a healing tool that we can use. And it's for the individuals to not limit themselves, but to find which ones that they can relate to and connect with.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. So important. So then what inspires you in the work you do?
um I'm inspired by all the things that I have around me. I'm living in a tropical environment, and that's enabled me to, the colors here are more vibrant and are very vibrant. And I think the underlying thing is knowing that my art is impacting someone. And I say, even if it's that one person, all the way in Antarctica, that's fine. I don't need to, I don't need, a million followers and a million this and a million that. It's about how I show up, and I'm showing up for myself, and I'm sharing what I'm getting from the art to somebody else. And I think that's really important. And that's what keeps me going, because yeah, I mean, I have people saying, well, how do you do it all? How do you do all the things that you do? And I'm just like, I thought everybody did. I've found something, a way in which I can express myself. I don't always articulate my innermost emotions correctly, not correctly, but express them. But I find, painting an image of, I do a lot of faces of, say, a woman with her eyes closed, and that might be a symbol of peace, somebody who needs peace and rest. And like when I look at my time, looking after my mum, there were moments where I didn't feel that peace, but I can put it in an image, put it in a painting, and then look at that, and then shut my own eyes, and feel that. And so, so those are the things that inspires me. The fact that I can use the materials, I can use any material as a mixed media artist that I want, and create something that somebody else might feel is beautiful, or might remind them of something, or the colors soothe them. And that's what's really important to me, that somebody else is blessed, and through that I'm blessed back, Yeah.
Yeah. I do love that about mixed media too, because I feel like it just allows a little more depth of expression, that unless
Hmm.
you're a master painter or something like that, you can't really get on paper what you're feeling. Whereas mixed media gives you so many things to sort of help you with that. And I think
Yeah,
it's great.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah, and all the textures that you can get, and again the colors and the difference in materials, and the way the light will glint off, say, if you put metal in your material, or I think
Mhm.
all of that is touches people in so many different ways, and it's important that that as artists, I always say to people, it's important that you share your work,
Yeah.
because you're not creating for yourself, otherwise you're not creating for yourself. You're expressing yourself on canvas or paper or fabric, and there's somebody else that could be blessed by what you do, or encouraged by what you do. So you have to, I think you have to share.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So there's a lot of talk around creatives and healers monetizing the work they do. How do you feel about that, or what are your thoughts?
It's funny. I was having this same conversation, similar conversation, and I think that, I think for most, as a creative, I mean, I create lots of work, and I create lots of work for free. And I think a lot of people do. And I think, at the end of the day, we still have to pay our bills. And
Mhm.
so I think in those places where you find that they're monetized, it's that you've already had the 21 free days, and then the creative has packaged it up, and added bonuses and things like that. So I think, well, if and they usually say, well, if you want to watch it in your own time, at your own leisure, then by you can pay for it. So I think it's fine. I think it's fine, because, as I say, you'll usually find that a creative has produced so much work anyway over the years for free, and you always do have access. But if you want to, choose when you want to watch it, then it's about us supporting, each other, and supporting artists. Um, and that's one way that you can, I think. The other thing is, if you're always getting it for free, do you actually value it? You know, there are classes and, things that people have, you know, gotten for free, where there's loads of artists, giving their time and everything, and the person hasn't necessarily even done all the sessions that have been made available. Um, and I found that even with, you know, some of the things, like even the the um, the taster sessions, the Willie Owen taster sessions. I mean, there was like, over there was loads of videos that were available, over a 2 week period, and a lot of people didn't even get to finish them. And I know we've
Mhm.
had, a replay where you can access it, but I think it's important that people. It's about us valuing the arts and valuing what we do, and I'd love to give everything away for free, but that's not possible, because my the lighting company and the electricity company and the water company doesn't understand that, well, you're giving it all away, so you've still got to pay your bills. So, I was saying to the person, I don't see anything wrong with it, because you've
Yeah.
already accessed it for free. So,
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So, what creative healing modality do you use the most for yourself?
I usually turn to my art journal, whether I'm creating backgrounds, because I find that activity quite a soothing one, where you take a lot of different materials and you just, you're not planning it, you're just seeing what you feel like creating, or whether I'm creating a face or doing some collage. So I usually do all of that in an art journal, or I'm making an art journal, or that's one of the things that I find that I turn to, and it's a thing that, again, you can take around with you. You can use a limited palette. You don't need, even if you don't need, like, you've got a water brush and a few markers, or you can use it anywhere. So I find that, yeah, the
Hmm.
art journal.
Yeah. I've really come to love my art journal. I'm newer to using the art journal, and
Uh-huh.
I I can't even imagine now not doing it on a regular
Yeah,
basis. Yeah, because
yeah,
you can just do anything. Sometimes I write in it, sometimes I draw in it, sometimes I paint in it, collage, whatever comes to
yeah,
me, that's what I'm doing in
yeah.
it. Yeah,
I mean, it did take
absolutely.
me a while to, because I'm a self-taught artist, so when I was starting out, it was just like, oh, you need a sketchbook, and I just didn't get it. But then when I came across art journals, it was just like, oh, I can write, as you say, I can do what I want in it, and I can combine the two,
Hmm.
and prep pages and write in it. Yeah, so it's um, it's something that I also encourage people to not, like, think it has to be perfect, because you see some of the ones that you see, it's just like, oh my gosh, look at the lettering and look at the imagery, and it is that it's your space to create
Hmm.
whatever you want. And it's, you have to give yourself permission to just show up and, just jump in on the pages.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Some I'll share, some, well,
that's it.
also share, but just show you that, they don't all turn out great, right? So it's
Well,
about
that's it.
expression.
Yeah. And then nobody's judging. It's just like, it doesn't matter what other people think, because
Hmm.
that's your space, and if you want to share, you share. If you don't, but it is nice to see somebody's, I've been sharing like my very first journals, and as I was trying to find what my style was, and it took a while, and it took a lot of pushing to kind of, okay, well, I don't like that face, or what I wanted to see in faces, or and a lot of taking classes from other people, and you copy their style until you think, okay, no, I like this, I've liked what they've used in that particular area. And then you can bring that back into your art journal and just play, and the
Hmm.
space is just for you to play as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, what are you proudest of in your life?
Do you know what? I mean, there's so many things that I'm proud of, but the one thing that, when I really just thought of myself and what I wanted to do going forward, I was working in an organization, and I was made redundant. And this was I think it was my third redundancy at the time. Up till that point, it was my third redundancy, and I came to the decision that I wanted to just dive into my art and to call myself an artist. And it took a lot of battling, because it was just like, well, are you really calling yourself an artist? Are you really an artist? But I just, luckily, I had a little bit of money from my redundancy payoff, and I was just like, no, I'm just going to do it. I am an artist because I've been working, I've been going to work and, doing my art, staying up late and all of that. I'm an artist. And so that was my proudest moment, where I actually made that decision, stepped out
Mm.
and said, I'm not going back. I'm not going back to working for somebody else. And obviously, that has kind of, has its ups and downs, but it was, the making that decision that I was going to commit to myself. So
Hmm.
that was my proudest
That is
moment.
something to be proud
Yeah,
of.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. So, if you could change one aspect of our society through your work, what would it be?
um, I think that I would say that everybody should have access to the arts, and that there should be more resources available, because we know how much the arts can impact on, the GDP of countries. So the arts brings in a lot of money, and so that there should be more support. I mean, we know that art is being used in health. We know that in hospitals, in clinics, wherever you go, like especially in hospitals, hospital waiting rooms, it's used for stroke victims, the elderly, people with cancer, music therapy, horticultural therapy. I mean, that can involve the arts as well, but not enough people have access to it, and not enough. It's not affordable for you know as many people as possible. And a lot of the arts are run by volunteers, and are relying on funding that's always cut. So I would want that there to be, support for the organisations, support for artists, and support for everybody to be able to have access to it, and that everybody, I don't know whether it's on prescription. We've even, there's even that where doctors prescribing our activities on prescription. I was involved in a project where we did that, and we found that people's health and well-being were impacted, blood pressure, their just general state of health, and we know that that would then impact. So it's impacting on our health, and then the health services would then there would be less stress on the health services, because if somebody's depressed, being in an environment where it's the arts and they're meeting people, they're collaborating, sharing and connecting, that then means that they don't have to go on all the antidepressants, or the services that then have to be accessed if they're just on their own and isolated. So that's something that I think is really important, and more people should have access to the arts, across the board.
I love that answer. It's so true. So true.
Yeah,
I consider all creativity healing, and when you put intention behind it, it is just that much more so, right? So when
yeah,
we give that accessibility to people, and you can say, okay, well, YouTube, if you have the internet, not everybody does. That's a very privileged thing to say, but also just the fact that supplies, there's so many
hmm,
places you can't get supplies, and some of them are ridiculously expensive. So being
yeah,
able to learn to create without, and so having people in the place to do that, and the resources, to make that happen is so
yeah.
important. So
I mean,
important.
there's there's so many places as well, organisations that chuck away a load of things that people can use for the arts. Like here in Barbados, we've just recently had an art gallery put on an artist materials bank. So companies who had um, ends of fabric, and paints and things like that, and materials, and other artists could donate, as well, and you could just go and see if there's anything that you wanted, and you could take it, and it was all free. And that then meant that there are people who may have wanted to explore the arts, or just didn't as you say, didn't have enough money to buy supplies, and they were able to access materials and then do some work. And even in England, there was there's lots of banks where, I can't remember what they called it though, but it was, you signed up, I think you paid £10, or maybe a bit more, £40 for the year, but you could go, say, 3 times and access all these things that manufacturers, ends of materials, and also art supplies. And we have to look at initiatives like that, where a lot of things are being chucked away. Things that we could recycle, in terms of assemblage art, and textiles and fabric, that people would have access to. So yeah, it's about us, really thinking differently about how we not only use and reuse, but again, what things are available that people can access,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
access
absolutely.
easily. Mm,
We have what's called the reuse center, and people can donate, but they also get things from other places. But yes, it's like anything, like puzzles that don't have all the pieces, but
Mm,
you can use it for something else. Cards, magazines, old books, all sorts of different cardboard and shapes. Like I can't even explain it, the amount of things that's in there.
yeah,
Sort of all the recyclables that you could use for something else, it's all
yeah,
there. So,
yeah,
and it's cost
yeah.
us $5 for as much as you can carry.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. That's good.
yeah, yeah. So, it's a nice. So, you did touch on this a little bit earlier, but when you were talking about being an artist, but imposter syndrome, the struggle with that. So, how did you get over that?
Um, As I get over it, I'm not sure that we do get over it. I
Mm,
think I was explaining to somebody that um, because I was saying, I felt sometimes I feel that, there's that thought that you're not good enough. And initially it was that it my critic would say, "Oh, but you don't have an art degree," and I would then be like really insecure about what I was doing. And I find, whilst I don't feel insecure about that, because I've, as I said, I'm a self-taught artist. I've taught myself all the different techniques, use of materials, use of supplies. I've done, I think every year I've done a course. I think it's important for your personal development. And I was saying to them that that thought, the critic is still there, but it's like in a drawer shut away somewhere at the back of my mind. It's like there's still remnants there. So sometimes, yeah, I do feel nervous, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I don't think that what I've tried to do is also try and work with the critic, and like I'll say, okay, like I've just said, um, right, whilst I might not have had my art degree, I've done years, over 20 years of learning. So I've done a degree over and over for all those years. But and I've just had to show up. Sometimes I've just had to push through. So if there are other things going on and I'm feeling a bit off, then I just talk to myself, and I just talk to myself in that way. I'll say, well, actually, so why are you feeling this way? Why are you feeling that? Why are you comparing yourself? Because you know that what you bring to the table is unique, that we're all unique, that we've all got something to share, that there's room for us all. And so I have to still talk to myself in that way. And other times it's just, yeah, come on, let's go. And I find, because I mean, I'm on YouTube every week and I do my arts and wellness cafe. And it's just like, at the end of the day, there's no room to kind of be, oh my gosh, no, I can't do it. It's just like cameras rolling, so you've got to go. And the thing that I also remind myself is that it's not for me. I'm not I'm not creating for me. The process is for me because I'm gaining healing from it. But what I share at the end is for somebody else who may have been feeling at their lowest, who may not have been able to get out of bed that day, who's, looks at, a video and feels encouraged by what I say, or the words that I use, or the image kind of just spoke to them. And so that's how I get over it. But the remnant is always there. It's always going to be there. And I think once you accept that, it's just like, all right, okay, so I know you're there. You're going to be saying some stuff, but here are the strategies that I'm going to use to counteract that. And I think that's something that we all have to make sure that we do. I've only met one person who said that they don't have a critic, a self-critic, and I was just like, wow, okay, that's good. But they say that it takes, I think it's something like 150 positive words to counteract one negative word. So I think we've all experienced where somebody's criticized us or said something mean, and it might go back to childhood. And unless you've been able to deal with it then, you still carry it around with you. And so, again, you have to have the toolkits, these words, encouraging words, and things that you do to get yourself out of it. And that's for me where an art journal comes in. It's just like I can then put it in there and just leave it there and rub over it
Yeah,
or write over it, gesture over it. Yeah. So,
yeah.
yeah, that's how I deal with that.
Well, and I think that's brilliant because it's so true, right? Like, do you ever really get over it? But
Yeah.
when you have strategies to work around it, right? Because
Mm.
we all struggle from that.
Yeah.
So, do you have an inspirational quote that you live by?
Yes, the quote I really like is there's one by Maya Angelou, and she said something like, she's learned that people will forget what you've said, people will forget what you've done, but they'll never forget how you've made them feel. And
Mhm.
I think that's the thing, that everything that I do, I'm thinking, well, how do I feel about this? And I'm hoping that, somebody's going to be blessed. I mean, every video I say, stay blessed and be a blessing. Um i want i want my creativity to be a tool that helps somebody um find out either who they are, where they are, what they want, what they like, how they want to express themselves, or gives them a glimpse into, uncovering that for themselves. So I think it's important, how we make people feel, they'll remember that. You'll remember that for the rest of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
as we're wrapping up now, is there anything else that you'd like to add that we maybe haven't discussed today?
I think it's just a reminder, and a reminder for people to not be afraid to start, to not be afraid to try, to not be afraid to experiment, and just to give themselves a chance, and just to be comfortable in the uncomfortable. Because sometimes you're it's not that you like sometimes we'll stop because we think, oh no, we're doing it wrong. But sometimes you could be going through the transition, like you're just right next to the point where you break through. So sometimes you've got to sit in that uncomfortable feeling of, am I doing the right thing, or is this right, or does this look right, or you know but to not be afraid to just take a step and take a chance on yourself. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's a great last message to leave them with. I want to thank you so much for being here. I've so enjoyed our talk.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been really great, and I love being able to share with others.
Mm,
And yeah, it's just been a really
yes.
great opportunity.
Well, to our listeners, we'll see you again next week. And in the meantime, have amazingly creative days. Are you a daily journaler? Do you want more creativity in your day? We have two great creativity journals to start your day with. One for people who already have a journaling practice, and one for people who are new to journaling. Both are an amazing way to start your day. Both make the perfect gift for a person in your life. Check out Have an Amazingly Creative Day and How Do I Have an Amazingly Creative Day? Both currently available on Amazon. Click the link below to purchase yours now.